Hi, hello, welcome back to the channel. I am so excited that you're here. And today we're actually going to talk about all the professionals that are available to you during your writing journey. I know that when I first started writing, I had no idea that there were so many different kinds of editors, and I didn't know what the difference was. And so I want to help break it down for you today. Hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm a developmental editor and book coach. We're going to talk about those two things here today. And I'm really here to help you own your narrative, to unapologetically show up in your writer voice, to share your story with the world. So let's start up here at the top. So what the heck is a book coach? I like to talk about being a book coach. I think it's such an important part of the journey. Writing can be such a solo act, and we often are questioning ourselves about, is this good enough? Am I doing the right thing? What is my next step? I feel stuck in that murky middle of the novel, and I don't know how to get through to the end. So book coaching is really having someone that is knowledgeable in the genre you're writing, knowledgeable in the writing process, and someone who can hold you accountable. So I often work with authors during their first draft of their manuscript to keep them moving forward towards that completed manuscript. And I usually work with authors before the editing process, but also I do work with authors after the editing process, because sometimes that feedback can be really hard to understand what to incorporate, what not to incorporate. And so book coaching is just like if you were to hire a trainer to help you get in shape or to help train for a marathon. It's the same idea. If you are wanting to be a published author out into the world, we have to invite other people in along the process. And so book coaching is one way to help you stay on track with your goals, to ask questions as you're going, to not feel like you're just kind of left for Google search to figure out what your next step is. So book coaching can kind of come in at different parts of the journey, as I explained, but it's really there to help nurture and support you towards the goals that you have with your writing. So once you have a finished manuscript, this is where the editors will come in to help refine and polish your manuscript. So the first stop would be a developmental editor. Oops, this way. So developmental editor is something that I do as well. And a developmental editor is really looking at the overall structure and pacing of your story. So this is looking for any plot holes, for anything that isn't making sense, any point of view changes that happen when they aren't meant to happen in the book. This is looking at your character development. So does your character change in a way that is impactful and believable for the reader? So a lot of the eye of the developmental editor is really putting themselves in the shoes of the reader to make sure that it's making sense, that what you had in your brain is translating to the reader in the way that you want it to. So this is very much so taking that 10,000 foot view, making sure that your story makes sense, the structure is there, it's engaging, you're going to have readers there wanting to turn the page, to stay up late, to read that next chapter. And so this is a really important part of the process, because if your character arc isn't there, then your readers aren't going to be engaged. They're not really going to care about the character. They're not going to want to continue to read the book. And I know that your story is so important, and we really, really want people to be reading it until the end. So this is a really important part of the process. So once the structure is in place, and that's in a good place, you've got your character development, the pacing is working in the story, your dialogue is feeling believable, this is when we can now move down into line editing, copy editing, and proofreading. So a line editor is going to come in after a developmental editor, and they are going to look at your sentence structures and really look at, is this the best way to convey what you're trying to say? So similar to the developmental editor, where they're looking at the structure of their overall novel, the line editor is looking at the overall structure of your sentences. And sometimes there might be a way to convey what you're trying to explain in fewer words. Other times there might be an opportunity to expand the description. So a line editor is really going to be looking at, are you using the best words for the emotion or the scene that you're trying to convey? So a line editor is looking at the overall structure, the meaning, and the flow of your sentences. So once you've got the structure of your book, you've got the structure of your sentences together, this is when a copy editor is going to come in and support you with the grammar, the spelling, the punctuation. So this is getting even more granular. They may also do a little bit of the line editing as well, copy editing, but this is an overall structure and making sure that there aren't spelling errors. The grammar is working within those sentences that the line editor has helped you create. So the copy editor is really looking at like the syntax, the grammar, and the spelling within your book and the punctuation to make sure that everything is flowing and nothing is standing out. Nothing's going to catch a reader that's wondering like, oh, why is that in there? So it's really kind of that very granular, very detail-oriented aspect of the editing process. And then we arrive at the proofreader. So the proofreader is that final pair of eyes. It's going to go through and look again. They might be looking at the sentence structure. They're looking at the spelling. They're looking at the grammar. It's another pair of eyes that can kind of just check all those boxes before you go to publish and to print your book. Now, if you're a line editor, copy editor, proofreader, I'd love for you to share more in the comments about your role. I work more up here in the book coaching and developmental editing side, and so I partner with different editors for the line editing, copy editing, and proofreading. So please feel free to chime in, share more about what you do and how you support authors. So another visual way of thinking about this is actually to think about this as a funnel. And it's not that every single author needs every single one of these steps. It's just about knowing what is available to you at what stage you are in the writing process. So if you think about having your manuscript, let's see if I can do this. This is a new format for me on YouTube, so you got to let me know if you like it. So if this is your manuscript here, you can think about having a funnel all the way down to being published. So when you're in this process of writing your manuscript, this is when you might want to engage with a book coach to help you get to that finished manuscript. And then from there, here, you're probably going to then work with a developmental editor to make sure that your structure, your pacing, and all the pieces that go into writing a book are in place so that the reader expectations are met. And then from there, you might go into the line editing. And this is, again, making sure that what you're trying to convey in emotion, in action, in storytelling is landing with the reader. And then you might go into the copy editing. So this is making sure that all your spelling, your punctuation, everything is in place. And then the proofreader is going to take the final look at all of this to make sure that you're ready to be published. And that is the exciting part when you get to then move on to the publishing stage. So I'd love to hear from you. Have you worked with these kind of editors before? Has this helped clarify the different editors? I know, again, when I was starting, I had no idea. And that's part of why I landed with becoming a developmental editor, because I really love strategy. I love looking at that whole structure from the bird's eye view and really drilling down into what makes sense in the book, what makes sense for the reader, what makes sense for the characters within the book. So it's really valuable to understand the different stages of editing that can really support you along your way. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please drop them below in the comments. Be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with any other authors who may also have questions about the different stages of editing.